Hi, this is Vicki from Grandbaby's Junk Journal. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I have just a quick little haul that I wanted to share with you. I have said many times I've got grandbabies that live out of state, and so we went and picked them up, and twin boys, and they're almost 6, and then our 8-year-old. So they're here with us for a couple of weeks, so there's not going to be any crafting, but whenever we go to visit our grandkids, we always stop at this antique mall along the way, and I absolutely love it. I've shared many times on my videos, and so we stopped again last week on our way through, and I wanted to share some of the things that I got. Yeah, and talk a little bit about it. So they will definitely be in some of my junk journals coming up, because I know sometime this summer I'm going to be able to get back to crafting, but and this all comes from that antique mall that I visit. So this is a box of 2 sets of cards. Now I have not found a date on these, but I love the kitties. I have several of these box sets, but not of kitties. And I love these. I love the coral and greenish, maybe aqua colors. And I actually have some little golden book, vintage books that are about kittens. And so I know I'm going to use some of these, but these will make some great tags, some great pockets. I'll find other things to do with them. I will definitely share them in my kits and along with Happy Mail that I send out. So this was a great find. Another thing that I got, I've been looking for vintage cards, like birthday cards, any kind of greeting cards, and they are hard to come by. It seems like any of the auctions and things that I'm never able to find any. So one of the vendors at this antique mall had a couple boxes of them, and so definitely I snagged these up. They were a pretty good price. And these are going to be going, I bought a couple of kits that I'm going to share with you, and I bought them for a reason, so I'll tell you why, but I'm definitely going to be using this for that project. So anyways, there's a little teddy bear. I think these would be about 1940s and 50s. I absolutely love the colors and the images. They are just the cutest. Yeah, I haven't seen any dates, but I'm going to guess the 40s and the 50s for sure. These are just so cute, so cute. So if you're out there thrifting, going to yard sales, going to auctions, going to flea markets, look for these these vintage greeting cards, because they go wonderful in your junk journals. There's so many things that you can do with them, and I know if you look out on YouTube, you're going to find videos that just are about using these kind of cards. I also found these, and I'm gonna guess these are probably 60s or 70s. It's a whole pack of tags. I think they're probably stickers. I've not taken them out, but I like to stick these in my kits and clip them into journals. And I have not, these are like the first vintage, really vintagey tags that I've had to add to my stash. So I really like that there's quite a few of them. I don't know, maybe 50. I don't know. It's a pretty big package. So that was a really good find. Oh, this, I had seen this last time, and I tried to remember, because I wanted to come home and make some, because I have tons of different kinds of vintage cards. And when I seen this at one of the vendors, I went, oh, that would be so cute to include in junk journals. And I've got, I love collecting buttons. I love collecting different cards. And so this time I went ahead and snagged one of these. I just went ahead and bought it. That way I have something in my hand. Now I just want to share a little story. I was a crafter at craft shows for years and years and years. And then I had some back surgeries, and long story short, I don't do craft shows anymore. That's why I went ahead and started a website, and I kind of do that in its place, as a hobby, and to try to pay for my hobby, which it doesn't, but any little bit helps. But when I would go to craft shows and I found something at the craft shows that I liked, I would always just buy it and bring it home, and then I would recreate it. And I really haven't done that since I've gotten into junk journaling. But this was the first time I seen a couple of these items. I see, like I said, I seen this last time and I thought I'm just gonna buy it because that way I'm gonna put it on my table, and that's gonna remind me to make some of these and add them to my journals. So I hope this gives you an idea. It looks like I planned on just putting thread through it and like tying a knot here. They used some kind of little wire. So if you have buttons and if you have old cards, or they don't even have to be old cards, if you just have extra cards, this would be a cute little thing to add in your journals. You could even put some paper cardstock or something on here to make this a journaling spot, and then tie your buttons on that side. But I thought that's kind of a unique way to use some cards. And we all have button jars around in our craft area, right? So that was a good idea. Now the other two things that I have not seen before. Now I sell all kinds of kits on my website, which is grammybshop.com, right? And I'll put that in the description. But I have not seen ephemera packets out and about in my journeys for sale. I'm thinking, oh, okay, so I kind of have the market in that. Well, silly me, but I don't. But anyways, I found these ephemera bags, and I went ahead and bought 2 of them just so I wanted to see what this vendor had in them, but then recreate, because I have such a large stash because I collect and I end up getting so much, and then I just can't make enough journals to use all of the stuff that I've collected. And so I do have a lot of kits on my website, but I am going to recreate and make some like these 2 that I purchased. In my stash, I've got a lot of vintage photos, so I'm definitely going to use this. So on here, it says old photos, postcards, brochures, maps, cards, newspaper clippings, advertising. So it's really kind of just a mix bag of, whatever. So I just wanted to go through it, maybe to give you some ideas. So if you are a junk journaler that you sell your things, this might give you an idea, I think junk journaling is getting pretty popular, and I know the last craft show I did a couple years ago, I sold a lot of journals. So you can definitely do craft shows for sure, and I miss them terribly. I just can't do them anymore. But anyway, so this little ephemera bag, they have some vintage photos, which I absolutely love. This is the Eloise books, the prayer books, and I have a stack of these, but I love the way that they cut them out. These are all ready to put right into a journal. This is a little image from one of those little prayer books, and I've used these in many different journals, different tags and things like that, but not just like this. So, oh, look at that, that's adorable. So this is a really great way, I'm going to just borrow this idea, and I love the way it's simple. They've cornered the corners, they've chumped the corners to make them round, and it's a really nice presentation. So I love the way that this person put this kit together, and I'm going to kind of borrow that idea. And look at this, Baby Beans 1975. They're little paper dolls. Isn't that just adorable? I love this. So that was really sweet. That was one little ephemera kit. And then this one was a little bit larger. Now, when you're a vendor at a shop like that, you don't have to add shipping, so you can get it at a lower price. Unfortunately, when you have a website like mine, you gotta include that shipping, which you know how shipping is anymore, so that kind of stinks. But if you can get things, if you can find these great little things at shops, you want to pick them up when you can, right? This has just a pile of stuff. I mean, you know, I add tons of music sheets in mine, but like they've cut some up into smaller, manageable pieces, which is very nice. Again, there's, you know, several of the vintage photos, which I love. I have tons in my stash, so I'm gonna just borrow this idea. Again, here's a super nice vintage card, greeting card, which I'm still gonna be looking for these. They're just hard to come by. And then, you know, this person took some clippings from newspapers or magazines that were vintage. You know, it's an interest photo, postcards, another postcard, lots of different pictures from magazines and postcards. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I just wanted to give you an idea. You know, if you're a junk journaler, look for all of these different things. She put some scrap cardstock in here to use in journals. You know, look at, I can definitely see this is this was from an old vintage magazine, because I have some of these myself, but they've cut them down to make it more manageable. So when you are out there thrifting, when you are looking, you're stopping at different places, look for some of these kind of magazines or greeting cards or the vintage photos. How adorable. Because you can use all kinds of stuff. Wallpaper is great. Any of these, even if they're not like straight cuts or whatever, this would be great for a pocket. Look at that. You know, I love the way that that's cut. So anyways, I just wanted to give you some ideas of, you know, maybe when you're out this summer and you're yard sailing or thrifting or, you know, whatever, look for some of these things, because people, you know, a lot of people don't use these things and they just want to get rid of them. So keep an eye out, because these are wonderful little treasures that you can use in your junk journals. And I am definitely going to be raiding my stash and seeing some things that I know I have, and I'm going to be starting to kit some more up, modeling after a couple, you know, these 2 ephemera packs, because whoever did these did a super good job. But anyways, I just wanted to share my haul. It wasn't a lot, but it was vintage, and I love vintage, and all of this goodness will be going into my junk journals, happy mail, or kits in the future. So I hope you are all having a wonderful day and you're able to get out and thrift and do some crafting as well. Bye-bye.